Hey, hi everyone. So this is my first video on rate limited service. So here I'm going to talk about the low level design and as well as the high level design of rate limiter. So I try to capture each and every details, including the code changes and even including the infrastructure, how the infrastructure should look like, both low level and high level. So that is what I'm going to cover in these videos. So firstly, what is our problem? What is the problem that we are going to solve? What is the rate limit? So problem statement of rate limiter is it's all in one solution. Few users, few use cases listed, or like Google Pay. So rate limiter needs to limit number of transactions per day. So per user, based on his tier structure. If he is a premium, then we will allow unlimited payments per day. Or if he is a tier 2 user, then we will allow 1000 payments per day. And if he is a free user, like unpaid user, then we will allow 100 payments per day. That's one use case. And if you see YouTube, based on the number of subscriptions for a channel, we will limit how much GB that can be uploaded. So for a channel with less than 1000 subscribers, we will allow 300 GB upload only per day. For a channel of 10,000 subscribers, less than 10,000 subscribers, we will allow 3000 GB per day. For a channel of less than 1 lakh subscribers, we will allow 15,000 GB per day. And if the channel size is greater than 1 lakh, then he has no limit. He can upload as much GB as he want. So there should be a limit on how much GB that a channel should be uploading, right? So having these limits is good. Like if everyone is able to upload any amount of GB, then the YouTube infrastructure should support infinite amount of GB, which is not practical. So that's why we need to have these limits. So yeah, and if in Google Maps, if you see Google Maps is being used in Uber, Rapido, Ola, Dunzo, Zomato, Swiggy, etc., Blinkit, etc., etc. So these apps, we should track how much usage these apps are using. So how do we track? So based on number of hours, right? So we can't track like as long as the app is being used, they primarily use Google Maps for navigation from pickup point to destination point, delivery point. So Google Maps are used all the time. So in these apps, so it is better for us to limit by hours, not to limit, but we should not limit, or else their business will get affected. We should not limit, but rather than limiting, we we calculate the amount of time they are being used in, like the Google Maps is being used in those apps for all the users, and then we calculate the rate, the price for that much of usage of Google Maps. So this is one way in which in which the usage can be tracked, like number of hours of usage per month or per year or per week or per day. So rate limiter, so as we want it to be used by multiple services, like Google Maps has it, YouTube or Google Pay, so it will have heavy traffic. So we design APIs, those APIs will get too many calls. The system will have heavy traffic. And also Google Maps is sending metrics and also of usage. YouTube is sending metrics for usage. This is third party call. So rate limiter is a third party service, right? So that is how we are designing. And if metrics, if the call has to reach from their region, like from their server to my server, my rate limiter server, and then it has to send the response. If it takes time, this process takes time. So this process take time, then the service would slow down. This would slow down the Google Maps itself or the YouTube itself. So the response time should be very low. Should be very low. Like it's like an inbuilt function. Like we are running. It should look like we are running an inbuilt function. Inbuilt function in the sense, like a Java function. Like it should not look like a third-party call is being made when the metrics are being sent from Google Maps to my rate limiter service. And we should design in such a way that we should be able to handle heavy traffic. So firstly, each and every service should not be able to send metrics to my server, to my rate limiter service. Any service, like let us say some XYZ design some YZ service, and that service should not be able to send metrics to my rate limiter service. So for that to happen, we first register a service. We define unique service IDs for each of different service. Like say YouTube has one service ID, Google Maps has another service ID, and so on. So these are unique service IDs which we give to different services. So first they need to register. First admin will register. The rate limiter admin will register. Like a default admin will be there. A unique like a user ID and a password would be already present in the system. They don't need to register. They don't need to log in, create new logins. I mean, new users. These are by default in the system itself. So this default admin would log in from a browser or anywhere. So once you log in, so this would be a HTTP request. Once you log in, what happens? This is HTTP call. This login happens by HTTP connection. He will send user ID and then password that will get encrypted and then decrypted at the my rate limiter service side by HTTP protocols, and then I get the password. I get the password and user ID, which I would hash and then check if the password matches with my default admin password, and then the user ID also matches. If they matches, then I will log in, and then I will send a response. The response will have a header, the response header, HTTP header. So the header will have cookies. In this cookies, we'll send a session ID, which I will so which I will track in my database, all the active session IDs. So here you can see session last active time. So for a given session, I will map the last active time. So now a new user came, new user login. So I will update into this map with time and session ID into this map. So once he logged in, so why we need the time? So the time is simple, like we don't allow this session for infinite amount of time. We would set some hard limit like 5 minutes. If he is not active, then we will delete from session last active time, and this user need to log in again. Okay. And also we have session ID to details map. So session ID to session details. So session details will have user ID. I mean, admin have a unique user ID, right? That admin user ID will be in the session ID details. So by looking at the session, I would be able to know like which user has session ID. By looking at the session ID from this map, I will be able to know which person has logged in into from this map. User ID to details. So for now we have user ID like admin ID. So admin details we can fetch from this map. So this is an user ID to user details map. So allowed service map. So allowed service map is nothing but it's a service ID as key and then service details as value. So it will have details like service ID and then name. Like say if it is YouTube will have the name will be YouTube and then the service ID will be unique service ID for that for YouTube. So once we logged in, as I said, a session ID would be set as cookie like HTTP response, HTTP header. In the HTTP header, we will have session ID which will be saved into client browsers or postman call postman whichever the software they are using. So next is the register service. So once I logged in, once the user has logged in as an admin, he can do, he is an admin, right? So he should be able to register new services. So to register new service, you will set the service name, like service details in, as you can see, service has service ID and then the name. Name is nothing but like Google Map or Google Pay. Service IDs which we will generate after calling this service register service call. So inside this register service, first we will generate the service ID. Before even generating the service ID, we need to check who is this, whether this session for the HTTP header we will get the session ID. Inside the register service, first we will fetch the HTTP header. HTTP header will have session ID. From the session ID, I will be able to get user details. I will see the user ID. From the user ID, I will get to know the user ID details, user details. From user details, I will check whether he is an admin or not. Only if he is admin, then we will allow further processing of his request. If he is not, then we will return false. I made it simple like false, but we can give a good response of with including the message, what's the error code, all of those. Okay, now he is an admin. Now he is an admin. He want to register a service. He sent the name, so we'll generate a unique service ID, and then we'll save all his details. So now the service is registered. So let me read out these points. If I had missed any point that I had to tell you, the important points, I have just noted them here. In a HTTP request for login, the login request always gets encrypted and decrypted before the function call. Yeah, so we don't need to bother about encryption and decryption in our service. So the encryption and decryption, the security part, like we are setting password, all of those are already taken care by HTTP protocol. So we don't, in our service, we don't need to bother about whether my password is getting leaked to somewhere during the network calls or somewhere. With login response, we also send HTTP response header. Yes, correct. As you told, like we will send the HTTP header with cookies, which will have session ID. This is a unique ID and act as an authentication token. Every further API call with service will be validated for this validated authenticated token. The register service function has to be triggered by only admin. A verification for admin will be done with the help of the session ID. Correct. I already spoke about this. We will update the DB service map. Okay. That was also discussed. So this is all about service registration service. If I miss anything, please let me know in the comments. So I made it simple here, like boolean and then string. But the idea is, you got the idea. Like the main part here is session ID, and how we are going to deal with the login. Only how we are going to deal with service registration. Like only admin can do that part. Not any user can do. Like any user should not be. Every user should not be able to do that. Only logged in admin user can only register a service. Thank you. That is for this video. I will upload more videos coming up on metric client and then metric services. Please let me know your suggestions if you find any improvements in my design or in my approach. Please let me know better approach. Like if you have any better ideas, please let me know. Thank you.